Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about Visit to the Unknown from Tensei Shitara Slime Talk, and so without any ado let's begin. Visit to the Unknown, 05 Feldera's Excuse Part 2. If there was food there, then they should share it with the resistance. That was the idea that flashed in Feldera's mind. And he did not stop to consider their reasons for a second. In any case, it was pointless to even expect Feldera to care about their circumstances. Is that not right? So we should just take it by force. Are you stupid? That's impossible. Zaza and Sharma shouted at the same time. Of course. Just like the most recent incident, they could attack a food production plant that had the weakest security and still lose men. As for attacking the city itself with all of its tight security, it was practically suicide. Kahahahaha. What a joke. You cannot think like that and then expect the children to have hope, can you? Feldera said as he looked at the young faces that surrounded him. Then he turned serious and continued. I have an idea. I want to show these children that the world is full of wonderful things. This food that changes flavor is not bad in itself, but it is not enough to satisfy the heart. You have to know the heights and then want it. I believe that it is that pursuit that is noble. He declared. No, but that will only make the Empire furious. In a way, they overlook us. But they will start showing their true power if we push any further. Indeed. While we call ourselves the Resistance, we do not really have the power to overthrow the Empire. Even if we could unite all of the districts, it would still not be enough to take one city. The three of them rejected Feldera's words. And they were right, judging by the known facts. Even if the Resistance went out in full force, they would be easily rounded up by the city's defense troops. They had worked so hard up until now so that did not happen. So it was no wonder that they didn't agree with Feldera. However, soft. You're too soft. Wasn't there once a time of prosperity? Don't you want to get that back? Do you really want these children to have to walk down that same road of despair as you? They all became quiet at this argument, which seemed serious at a glance. Feldera himself thought that he had said something rather good, and he looked smug. As he looked around with a satisfied face, Ramiris asked him hesitantly. Bulletin but, Master. This okonomiyaki is delicious, and the children are happy. But what will you do if they don't have this kind of food in the city? They might know what true despair is then, you know? Beretta is right. I don't want to get involved and then get in trouble over it. Ramiris did not know what to do and her eyes constantly shifted around. She was afraid that doing something without permission now would just make a bigger mess. Beretta's words had made her realize that she was getting too involved. And while Ramiris was usually the carefree type, this was finally taking things a little too far. It was here that Feldera suddenly smiled and laughed. Don't worry, Ramiris. I have thought about it. And I have come to a conclusion. A conclusion. Ramiris looked at Feldera and waited for his answer. This time she rearmed herself with a strong will. She would not be tricked again. Feldera nodded solemnly and said, I have decided, that even if everything fails, we can just relax and leave it all to Rimuru. I see. Don't listen to him, Lord Ramiris. Beretta screamed, but his voice did not reach them. Feldera and Ramiris were already smiling as if the problem had been solved. Rimuru would be able to solve a problem like this very easily. We only have to wait for him. That's true. It would be easy for Rimuru. It was nothing. If they had trouble, they could just leave it to Rimuru. That was what Feldera said. And Ramiris had agreed. There was no worry on her face now. And she bit excitedly into her okonomiyaki. These two were hopeless, Beretta lamented. Leaving a mess for Rimuru to clean up was a good way to make him angry. But neither of them seemed to want to consider that. Besides, the original plan had been to return to their world before Rimuru got back, and destroy all of the evidence. But they must have forgotten this because Feldera and Ramiris were laughing as if they had solved everything. They really are hopeless. Lord Ramiris is completely involved now, but she doesn't seem to even realize it. Beretta alone realized what situation they were in. It was quite simple. Feldera had been sulking and wanted to become popular. And he merely dragged Ramiris into his plan. And now Sharma and the others were dragged in as well. And they were going to declare war on the Empire. He just did whatever he wanted. Unfortunately, even if Beretta knew why Feldera was doing this, he could not do anything to stop him. While he was quite exasperated inside, he was at least able to steel himself for whatever the angry Rimuru might do. So, what will you do? Now that it has come to this, we shall help you with all of our power. Feldora said. Come to this? It is all your fault. Beretta thought. But he kept his mouth closed. He would just watch. Sharma was calm. Feldora could not sweep her off her feet with his talk. And so she did not give him an answer immediately. If it was yesterday, Sharma would never have dreamed of allowing an attack on the Empire's city. She would have ignored it as the laughable idea of a madman. However, after witnessing the powers of Ramiris and Beretta, she began to wonder if they could use them. Even if they didn't attack the Empire, she did not want to lose their cooperation. Know the heights and then want it. Those words burned in her chest. You make it sound so easy. And yet you don't know how much we have suffered because of what we wanted, but maybe it is the same for him? Perhaps he has also experienced a time of such hardships. Sharma realized that those words had really moved her. Still, she had to be careful. Attacking the Empire. Such a thing cannot be decided so lightly. We must contact Light of Dawn's headquarters and discuss what we should do. So she avoided an immediate answer. Still, within her heart, Sharma was thinking of it in an optimistic light. Rindo was also thinking. Making the children walk a path of despair. No, that could not happen. It was a reality that he had not wanted to admit, and therefore looked away from. It was so hard just living, that he didn't know if he did it while looking forward to anything. But this man named Feldora had only come here today, and yet the children had already accepted him and played happily. Rindo felt jealous. Indeed. What had I been looking at all of this time? It was just the adults who were in despair. The children were having so much fun. Perhaps true happiness was not something given or taken, but something you find on your own. If possible, I would like to talk to someone from the Empire, just once. That is what he thought. Then something might change. When he looked at the incredibly confident Feldora, he started to feel that he too could do anything. I agree with Sharma. However, I am personally very pleased with your offer. Rindo said with a smile. For once, he allowed his true emotion to show a little. Zaza had a similar opinion to Sharma. The only difference was that he knew how strong Beretta was in combat. And so he couldn't help but wonder, what if Beretta's strength could give them a chance? However, it couldn't be so easy, could it? The Empire was huge. This was like stepping on the tiger's tail. But Zaza had many years of combat experience, and so he knew firsthand just how powerful the Empire was. And that was why he couldn't agree to it so lightly. But that wasn't the only reason. What if Zaza has seen a new hope in Feldora and the others? He had lived desperately in this claustrophobic place for so long, and so in his eyes, the carefree way that Feldora and the others acted was almost blinding. After thinking about it for a while, Zaza came to a conclusion in his heart. He felt that this situation would be the catalyst. It would be the first step to changing the relationship between the Empire and the Resistance. However, one wrong step could lead to a disaster. And so in order to avoid that, Zaza looked at Feldora with determination. At the man who smiled with so much confidence. Heh. What a strange person. He doesn't fight at all and leaves everything to Beretta, and yet he acts so importantly. But I do not dislike him. Zaza thought. In any case, things would only get worse if they did nothing. They had to make a decision somewhere, or they would just run out of luck. They did not know how long the energy plant in their hideout would continue to run. If we are going to do it, I'll call my friends too. We can contact all the surviving mercenary troops here. If we do it, we have to go in full force. Sharma had delayed her decision, but the time would come soon enough. It was just a matter of acting sooner or later. In that case, it would be better to make that decision while they had reliable allies. And so those were the reactions to Feldora's words. They were mostly favorable. Well, except for Beretta. Well. It looks like they have all been fooled. Feldora is not thinking about it very hard at all. He just wanted a reason to cook okonomiyaki for the children. Why? They had only left him for a short while, and it had turned into this. Beretta could not understand it. And now it seemed the world was about to be thrown into a great war. While Beretta was annoyed at how wrong it all was, he also started to consider what he could do to minimize the casualties. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more content.